This is the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Colorado's Real Estate Authority, Barb Schlinker. Barb Schlinker is a retired Navy veteran. Barb is an author. Barb's also a pilot, and Barb and her team enjoy all that Colorado and the Front Range have to offer. Barb, always great to be talking with you. Now, we air your real estate voice every Saturday. If you can't listen to the entire show, it is always available on Barb's site, barbhasthebuyers.com, or you can look for it on all of the popular podcast platforms like iHeartRadio. Every week, your real estate voice covers great information about the housing market and one of the average person's largest assets, the home. So, Barb, what are we talking about today?
Well, Richard, I'm excited about today's show. We're going to talk about a couple of different things that we haven't covered in a while. The first one is the cost to home sellers for setting their home price too high. A lot of people think, oh, can't I just price it high for negotiating room? And that's actually a big mistake because buyers, they seem to have this built-in radar of whether or not a home is a good deal. And if they think it's overpriced, they won't even come see it. So we'll cover some details about what's going on in the market, both locally and on a national basis. And then the next topic is going to be about what most home sellers want from their agent and from the sale. And I think that'll be kind of interesting to discuss it. I'm actually working on my second book about all the crazy stories that I go through. And a lot of this stuff is going to be kind of rolled into the book. And I try to fold in stories to make it interesting. So we'll talk about some stories. And then the third topic is something that, at some point in people's lives are probably going to have to deal with this, which is selling an inherited home. Now, I've had clients that have sold inherited homes that were literal gifts to them, which is such a blessing, or they were family members that didn't have any heirs, or they were the kids of people that might have passed away. And it's quite a project. Moving is a project all by itself. But then when you have to move somebody else's household, it gets even more intense because you're dealing with lawyers, you're dealing with heirs, you're the executor. You kind of have this, fiduciary responsibility to honor the wishes of the person that passed away. So it gets very intense. And we'll talk about some of the steps and just some ideas to make the process go a little bit more smoothly for you if that happens. The last topic is about the steps of the home selling process. People don't do this every day. Some people I meet with have never sold a home before, so they don't know what to expect. So we're going to walk through the typical steps that you can expect when you're selling a home, and we'll fold in some stories about that. Just it makes it come alive. And as always, I love talking about my hot new listings. Richard?
So, Barb, with the real estate market cooling off a bit, many people are saying that the buyers have got the advantage in a market like this one. What are the costs to home sellers for setting their asking price too high?
Well, it costs quite a bit, actually. In this market, the housing demand is actually dropped by over 10% over the past couple of years. At the same time, the number of available homes has substantially increased. Just yesterday, I was out showing a buyer, and in that price range, which is in the fours, which is kind of the median price range, just in Colorado Springs, there were well over 300 homes. So we had to pick and choose the ones that best represented what that buyer was looking for. But there was an abundance of homes. And I will say, going into some of those homes, I was pretty disappointed. Like the pictures made it look way nicer than it was. Then we get in this home, and sure enough, I don't know what happened, but the utilities got shut off. So just to put that in perspective, first of all, you're a buyer, you're going in this house, you're thinking, okay, it could be the one. And then you walk in the door, you can't turn the lights on. It's freezing cold. The automatic subliminal thought is, okay, they're not taking care of this home. It probably has frozen pipes, and I don't want to buy a project, right? So it's just really dumb what some people do when they put their homes on the market. It's a vacant house. It could be that the agent never noticed and doesn't go and check on it periodically. I don't know. Or maybe the seller just didn't have the resources to pay for utilities. I'm not really sure, but it really doesn't make a very good impression. And that particular home, compared to the other homes we were looking at, as it was at the top of the price point, it's been sitting on the market for almost 3/4 of a year. It's like, that's a clue. If it's been sitting there that long, it's either price or marketing or both, right? And we can fix that. And very few homes actually sell at a bidding war. The only time that hope happens is if at the same time multiple buyers see that this is a good bargain and they throw their hat in the ring at the same time. Now, according to national statistics, or actually Colorado statistics, it's about 1 out of 6 homes get a bidding war, right? It's not very many. And unfortunately, there's a lot of what I call dogs, homes that are not so pretty sitting on the market right now. We went in a house this past weekend where the utilities were on. It looked great on picture, but when you get to the house, now think about this, Richard, just what kind of impression this makes on a buyer. I thought they liked this house because they really, really looked at the details on this home, but we could not open the sliding door that went out to the backyard. What does that tell you?
If it's that obvious on something that should just absolutely work, and they could have taken a couple of minutes to get it working before they started showing, now I'm wondering what else is wrong that I'm not seeing immediately.
So guess what the buyer did? They crawled inside the closet underneath the stair in the basement, and lo and behold, there's mold down there on the drywall, right? And now
No.
we start looking deeper and going, well, wait a minute, why is there mold here where there's no plumbing? We start looking around. Oh, the water heater looks like it blew at some point, right? And there's water, salt stains on the floor. Instead of replacing the carpet, they just painted the concrete, which, by the way, is a Texas thing. Don't do that in Colorado in a basement. It's cold in the basement. A lot of people will paint the concrete floor and call it good, but it's not, it doesn't work in this environment. At least that's my opinion. Maybe nobody cares what my opinion is, but you know, it looks unfinished in general. And it was kind of like a lipstick on a pig solution to a real problem that they could have really easily fixed just for a couple of $1,000s. And you know what? Even brand new homes that we looked at don't have it all. We looked at one home that seemed pretty good. It had the 3-car garage and it had a great lot, except when you go down the staircase to the basement, it was a ranch. There was no way to put a piece of furniture around the corner to get it in the big giant rec room. Hello, did somebody miss something there? You know, they're going to have to put furniture in pieces. I mean, sometimes it's just a little stupid stuff like that that could be enough to get a buyer to reject a home. The other issue is rates. So everybody's thinking, oh, the Fed lowered the rates by a 1/4 point. Therefore, the rates must be coming down. Well, guess what? They have been the same since February. They have not changed. 30-year fixed conventional, 6.3%. Government loans just under 6%. You might get lucky and get a discount mortgage broker that can get you a little bit better rates than that. But at the end of the day, the Fed lowering the rates so far has had almost zero impact on the mortgage rates. And what builders do, part of what they do, because we went and talked to some builders, is they'll go out and they'll pitch, hey, guess what? We're going to give you an incentive. We're going to give you, usually it's about 10%, could be a little bit less. You know, we're going to give you 45,000 to either take it off the price, plus we're going to give you 4% to do with whatever you want. So you can buy the interest rate down. But what they do is they raise the price of the house to buy the interest rate down. So it becomes, to me, it looked like a wash. It wasn't as intriguing as I thought it was going to be for what you got for that price. But in general, buyers buy on payment. So right now, a 450 house is probably going to run about 3,000 a month. That's a lot of money for most people, right? So it really makes sense to, if you need to get a home sold, if you don't want to wait out the average days on market, which in most of the counties up and down the Front Range are over 115 days before you get a contract. You're better off pricing the home very realistically so everybody sees it's a good deal. And according to the Wall Street Journal, if you overprice a home, it could really, really increase the days on market, which results in more expenses for the home seller, carrying cost, all that kind of thing. And right now, Colorado Springs actually was ranked number 2 in the country for foreclosures. Now, so far, it has not had much of a downward pressure on home values, maybe slightly, because it's not more than 30% of the market. But what we're seeing is we've got 5 military bases around here. They went out and paid 100% financing for these homes. They added solar systems that tacked on another $30,000, $40,000. They added their closing costs. The builders kind of made it look good enough for them to be able to afford the payment. And then when they tried to turn around and sell it, oh, oops, sorry, it's not working. So I showed a house yesterday that originally sold a few years ago for $507,000. It's on the market right now for $425,000. We're seeing these big swings, especially in these newer homes that were owned by military. And the house was just beat up hard, like big holes in the drywalls. The carpet in the basement smelled like some kind of pet urine. It's cosmetic, it's fixable. It was pretty much a good deal, but not every buyer really wants to take on that kind of project. So the best way to really sell the home quickly and for the most money is to make sure it's priced right, prepare it properly, and make sure it's promoted right as well. That particular house I was talking about, there was no indication before we walked in the door there were monster holes in the drywall, right? He kind of shot around it. So it was a little bit disappointing when you got there, but we could tell it was an aggressively priced home. And then there are some situations where you have to price a home because the home has issues, like maybe it backs to a busy street. That usually is a negative for buyers. Maybe it has a unique floor plan. Maybe it has too few bedrooms, maybe only 2 bedrooms and 1 bath, that kind of thing. So you have to kind of look at the whole picture before you decide on pricing and make sure you're really well educated on it. My name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of this show. And we're talking about what is the cost of overpricing a home. And I really feel like going forward into this market, the way you make the most money is if you price it right. And if you want to find out how to do that, give us a call at 719-301-3900. We sell 50 times more homes than the average agent. We sell them faster and they're more likely to sell. Richard?
Barb, we're discussing the cost of home sellers asking too much for their homes. So, Barb, what is that cost and what can home sellers do about it?
Well, according to national numbers, it's as much as 4% if you overprice the home and then ultimately months down the road sell it for a lower price. Plus, there's the holding cost. So you could almost double that amount very easily. And most people don't want to have a bunch of folks coming through their house. It's not fun. So the best way to handle this is to price it out of the gate very realistically, get it sold quickly and for top dollar. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. If you're thinking of making a move, simply call Barb at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll be discussing what most home sellers want from their agent and from the sale.